Howdy, y'all. I wanted to talk about the exit project, the Backstreets. This is a walking simulator sort of experience. It's in first person, and you're going through this back alley street over and over and over again. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to go through it a certain amount of time. So when you walk through for the first time, you'll see a little, gray steel door that's like covering something, and it tells you, oh, it's like 0.00. And then you'll go all the way to the end of the alley, go through that door, and you'll see, oh, now it's 0.01. And it tells you how many times you have properly gone through the back street. And I think the goal is that you go through up until a certain amount of times in a row, and then the game will end. How many times can you go through this street without having to restart and refresh? Now, the way the game itself works is that as you're going through the alley, you have to meticulously look at every little detail of this back alley. Because if it's changed slightly, you gotta make sure you're headed in the opposite direction than where you think you're going. Because if you don't, it's gonna restart the entire cycle. And that's the game. It's one cycle, the same back street. You have to guess and make sure that you pick the right door to go through. Is it the door that you just came in through, or is it the one ahead of you? And that's what you have to decide. You have to look at the walls, look at the writing, look at where the clothing is. Sometimes the game will kind of give you a freebie, and if something crazy just happens all of a sudden, that's like, okay, now I gotta go back. That tells you to go backwards, because you only want to go through the proper way, the front door across from you, when everything is kind of as it should be. There's nothing unusual. It's just exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's when you go through forward. If something's a little bit off, a little bit wonky, that's when you want to go backward. And it's just figuring that out. That's all it is. And you have to look, because I played this cycle 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I still haven't gotten through the full cycle. The closest I've gotten was 7 times. And I think that's pretty close to how many you can go through. But when you like mess up and then you have to start all the way to the beginning again, it's like, oh my gosh, it could get like super frustrating, annoying, and it really will rile you up, especially the further you get along and you mess it up and have to start all over again. But that's it. It's just looking everywhere. The game looks really good. The detail, the world looks super realistic. And yeah, you don't even like using buttons except for like the X button to open the door. But that's it. That, analog stick to walk, and you can actually run as well, like using one of the trigger buttons if you want to speed things up. But that's the entire game. That's it. You just trying to get through as many of the cycles as you can without messing it up, and see what happens at the end. So I played on PS5. Like I said, graphically it looked really good. And you would be able to beat it perhaps in a short amount of time. If you're really good at that sort of noticing quickly when something is off, you could probably beat it in like 10 to 15 minutes. Or you could be like me and take like an hour and a half to 2 hours and still not get through all the way. So if you become frustrated with it, take some time away, come back another day, and eventually that day will come when you go through all the cycles of the doors, and you will feel better about yourself at the end of the day. Yeah, it's something just unique, different to try just for a few minutes, and I appreciated the effort that was put into it. You have like little sounds, you hear a little radio in the background and things like that, and it's cool to see the amount of detail that can be put in games nowadays, and just like the meticulousness of everything. So, if you have an extra few minutes to spare and you want to do something that's kind of quick, not too complicated, check this game out. If you're not into like paying attention to very specific stuff, if you're not great at that, maybe this experience isn't for you. It might just make you more frustrated than anything else.